first. How's my audio?
Okay.
I moved the microphone a little bit here. I should say hello to everybody else on YouTube, probably because you're watching this in the future and I don't know that you're watching it. So hello everyone on YouTube. I guess if I talk right at the microphone, I'm probably pretty loud, but I think the microphone is still canceling me out because I'm on the wrong side of it. I'll have to try to remember to talk like this later. I don't know if I'll remember to do it though. This is kind of awkward. Net will begin in approximately 8 minutes. KC9UDX net control here. Well, if you're watching on YouTube and you're wondering what the holdup here is, we start at 8 o'clock. And I think you can see the clock. It's not quite 8 o'clock yet here yet. Unfortunately, I really have to start this video early because I've had too many instances of YouTube not cooperating at the last minute and me not finding out about it till it's too late. We had a situation 2 months or 3 months ago where the live stream was running, but nobody knows where it went. It was streaming to somewhere, but nobody could watch it. Good evening. This is KC9UDX. My name is Matt and I welcome you to the 2 AM net. The purpose of this net is to promote the use of amplitude modulation and also to establish this part of this band as a place for AM activity in this area. Everyone is invited to listen. Licensed amateurs who can do so legally are encouraged to check in. We listen in the AM mode and transmit in the AM mode where possible. If you cannot transmit in AM, we encourage you to listen in AM and transmit in FM. If you are transmitting in FM, please adjust your transmit frequency a couple kcs above or below from our receive frequency. This facilitates the use of slope detection, that is, demodulating your FM signal with our AM receivers. When checking in, please announce your call sign in standard phonetics. Again, this is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I will now begin accepting check-ins. Any stations wishing to check in, please come now.
Good evening, Matt, W9JCC.
Yeah, good evening, Matt, AB9DW, Dale.
Alright, so far we got Frank, W9JCC, and Dale, AB9DW. Do you have anybody else?
Kilo Bravo 9, Romeo Zulu Oscar. Good evening.
Hey, welcome in KB9RZO. There's a familiar call sign and a name I can't quite put to it. It's been a while. I apologize for that. If you could let me know your name, please.
Yeah, the name is Scott. Sam Charles Oscar Tango Tango, and the call is Kilo Bravo 9, Romeo Zulu Oscar.
Roger, roger. Thank you, Scott, KB9RZO. Anybody else? Alright, hearing none, I hope we're not having some more technical difficulties here. I was expecting YouTuber Bratwurst to join in over the phone, and I have not received a phone call yet. So, if the phone rings, that's what's going on here. And, of course, what everybody's talking about is this COVID quarantine scare business. I guess we can talk about that. It if nothing else, means I don't have to go to work tonight, so we can we can be here as long as we need to be. And of course, if you've been following my YouTube channel, there we go. Stand by here a second. If you've been following my YouTube channel, you've seen that I've obviously been out of work for a while, so I've been getting a lot of things done here at home. And without spending too much more time here, I'm going to go straight to Dale, AB9DW, because I know he's on short time. Dale, AB9DW, the net is yours from KC9UDX.
Yeah, thanks there, Matt, AB9DW here. Yeah, I'm on short time, and I have been following your YouTube channel, so I've been watching you build all of these different things and fix different things. So it's really good. I really appreciate you doing that and putting it on YouTube. It's pretty interesting stuff. So, and I like watching that stuff. So I like that bench that you were making. That looked like it was going to be pretty darn sturdy. So it looks like it weighs a ton too. So there you go. Anyway, I've got to jump back out because I'm expecting somebody to come over here in about 5-10 minutes. And if I can, I will jump back in later after that person leaves. So thanks for letting me check in there, Matt, and we'll maybe catch you later. 89GW, back to net control.
All right, thank you, Dale, and thank you very much for your comments on my YouTube channel activities here and all the stuff I've been doing. That I appreciate that. And that bench is, well, I always overbuild stuff, so it's, yeah, it could support 5 of me, I think, jumping up and down on top of it if it had to, and yeah, it weighs a ton. Well, not a ton, but it's going to be a real trick getting it down here in the basement. When it's when it's done, it's going to weigh probably twice or maybe even 3 times what it weighs now. So that'll give you a small indication of what I have planned for it yet here. But we'll see how that goes. Of course, if I get called back to work, progress on that's going to slow down again. I've been working on that for years. I'm finally now to the point where I wanted to be, I think, a year and a half ago. But Dale, we'll see if you pop in here later. And at this point, I'm going to acknowledge YouTuber Bratwurst, who is on the phone. Bratwurst, say hello, and please tell us your first name, because I don't know what it is.
Hi, everyone. My first name is Joe. And so far, I guess I've really gotten a lot of things done, but now I have to do kind of like an online school thing. I'm still in school. So that's been kind of a time hog. But I guess I've been working a little bit on a few projects that I kind of had to get done, which is nice. So, yeah.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Joe. I'll get back to you here when we go down the list some more. Before I go back to the top of the list, let's, excuse me, I'm slurring my speech a little bit here. Let's see if we have any further check-ins. Anybody else wants to check into the 2 a.m. net, come now, please.
Whiskey Bravo 9, Bravo Whiskey Papa.
And there's Dave, WB9BWP. Anybody else? Hearing none, I'll go to the top. And Frank, I'm sorry to keep you waiting here, but it's your turn, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, thank you, Matt. KC9UDX and the net, W9JCC. And Joe came through there really good on your phone patch. In fact, he was louder than you are. Matt seemed louder anyway. And I tried to get, I didn't benchmark your YouTube site before, so I just Googled your call, and the nearest thing I got to you there, Matt, was KC9UDX driving. And you might want to give me the link again to the YouTube video, the online video that you got there. So yeah, the last, I was looking on the calendar before I came down. It seemed like the last time we talked, it was just before all this stuff broke with the virus. So a lot's happened in the last month. That's for sure. Back to net control, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And I think you're right. I think that was just before all of this stuff really took off. I will do my best here to email you a link to my channel. It's kind of surprising that my other channel shows up before my main one, but that's, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. That's YouTube. They have really strange ways of doing things. And next we have Scott, KB9RZO from KC9UDX.
Well, good evening to the net. This is KB9RZO, located in Pewaukee. Yeah, it's been an interesting radio day. I got home here, and all of a sudden I remembered hearing some people on Facebook saying 10 and 6 were opening up, and I turned them on, and holy cow, 10 is still going. I believe, let me look at my waterfall on the other radio. Yeah, 10 is not quite as active as it was 2 hours ago, but it's still in pretty goddamn good shape. So I did a lot of 10 meters, I think about 11 or 12 contacts, and a handful on 6. So it's been a fun day, and then I heard about the 2 meter AM net, so we're covering a little ground this evening, having some radio fun for a change. And we'll turn it back to net, KB9RZO.
All right, thank you, Scott, and thank you for being here. And you will find out we certainly do have a lot of fun here. So you came to the right place. And of course, it's guys like you being here that is what makes it fun. So again, thank you for being here. Next, I'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. Good evening, folks. I got here while Dale was talking. And the band is doing okay, I guess, tonight. I can hear everybody so far, so I guess that's good. I only happen to look at the meter for Frank. He's running S7 over here. And I'll pay closer attention to everybody else next round. Dale always comes booming in because he's only a couple of miles east of me. And I was giving Jerry heat again on the nets Friday and Saturday to remind him about this, so we'll see if he makes it here. Nothing special, I guess, going on over here. I'm plugging away on my stuff. I finally cleared enough room in the workshop to start working on the refurbishing of the vertical that I took down last year, that I should have already had done by now. So that's just getting started, but it shouldn't be too bad. Nothing's broken or anything. It's just clean it up, put it back together, put it back to factory dimensions, and then start the whole tune-up thing going on there. Let's see. And I got an email today from a local company. I haven't been doing a lot, I'll say, in the last year, work-wise, just because of various health-type issues that I had. I'm still doing physical therapy for my back and zombie walk, as I refer to it. Actually, tomorrow might be the last one, but I get the feeling they're going to tell me they want more. But anyway, I got to answer that email tonight about some possible work. I don't need to do it. In fact, I was getting close to saying, maybe I'm done. But we'll see what they say. I might be done anyway. They were just asking the question. So anyhow, with that, I'll send it back to Nat. This is WB9BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. And I'm certainly not trying to give you advice, but I know what I would do in your situation. I would stay away from all that stuff right now. You just never know where people who have this illness that's going around are going to be. And I would suspect there's more people like that in a place like that, but that's maybe just, I could be wrong about that. That's just my opinion. And I was going to say, among the things that I'm getting done here, being out of work, I've gotten some things done I just plain never thought I'd ever get around to doing. One of them, I've got a car that I broke right before I bought the house here, and I drove it here. That was the last time I drove it, and that's where it sat, and that was, I'd have to figure it out here, and I can't do the math in my head while I'm trying to do all this other stuff here, but it was 2003, I think, was the last time I drove it, and it was probably a year that I hadn't driven it in between then, too. So I drove it here and parked it, and that was the end of it, and of course it rotted and fell in disrepair, and I honestly never thought I'd get around to doing anything with it, and obviously if you've seen my YouTube videos, you know that I did manage to get that car running, and I've been driving it around the yard. I actually can legally drive it on the street right now, but there's a few things I want to fix before I do that, and of course there's a lot of restoration work that needs to be done to that car. And also, Frank, you commented on the audio with the phone, and I'll tell you the whole story here. I did buy a phone patch and intended to use that just for the sake of making it work and using it, but by the time I got halfway into wiring up what I would have to do, I gave up and I got a speakerphone. So all I'm doing is holding the microphone up to the phone, and it's this phone. I guess I never tested that. It shouldn't directly drive the microphone. This phone is designed for people who are hearing impaired. I bought that because I thought the audio would be louder, and it is, but it never occurred to me until a little while ago here that it's also got this feature that it couples to a dynamic microphone, and being that this is a carbon button mic, I think, it's been a while since I had it taken apart, being that it's a carbon mic, I don't think it should couple to that, so hopefully that's not overdriving my microphone here. Anyway, we are at the bottom of the list. Let me see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. All right, and there we got Steve, N9FSE Mobile. Go ahead, Steve, and take a turn from KC9UDX.
I got a lot of noise on you, but Scott's coming in really well, and I heard Dave's okay. I decided to get mobile. I don't know, we don't have too many mobile check-ins for this net, I'll bet you. Could watch some of your videos on the YouTube, and I'm out here near Gerke's Corners. I'm driving up and down Davidson Road. I'll go drive west again and get some elevation. Doing my best to look suspicious out here, but not to be a big pest of any sort. My signal isn't too crummy. I don't even know what the power level is. And I don't have it on lock, so hopefully I don't drift away on anyone. You're creating some elevation here. It's good to be back out here on the net and the mobile. And I've been looking forward to at least this session for sure. And it's also 222 sprint night, so I got the 220 mobile with me, and was on the W9RX repeater, but there's nobody out there. Didn't hear anybody on the sprint yet either, so if anybody is up for some 220, I'm up for that later. Scared up who I could on the west side there, and that's one of the reasons we got Scott tonight, so I'm glad we got a bit of representation from the west side crew. Order bratwurst if he's in there, and and with that, I think I'll turn things back, other than, just like Scott said, I heard 110 FM thing on the scanner in the kitchen, that's all I got. So we're up here near the big towers up here on Davidson Road. Back to net. Over.
All right, Steve, I know exactly where you are. Your signal is excellent. It's bouncing a little bit, but that's not unexpected for being mobile. I got to ask, though, what kind of radio are you using?
Well, since I'm now with little Tommy's unit, I'm back on my old 706 Mark II G. The 706 Mark II G as usual, and running a 5/8 wave just on the roof of the truck, but I'm a lot closer to everybody tonight, so I hear you a lot better. I trust you're here to be better than my usual show. And I got some big plans in the future, but we'll see what we can make of that. And maybe I could get the Facebook fired up someday too, but the promise is I've been at Facebook 3 years for Wisconsin AM, and I haven't done nothing yet, so I gotta get with the program.
All right, Steve, well, thank you for being here, and you are just booming in here. I'll tell you that when your signal hits its peaks, it's always hitting right at exactly 5 on my meter. That's half scale, so out of 10, you're 5, so that's just plain excellent. That's the best you've been here on the net, and I think it's been a while since you've been here. But we are at the bottom of the list again. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. All right, hearing none, I'm going to turn it back over to Joe, YouTuber Bratwurst here. Joe, go ahead.
Hi. Speaking of AMC vehicles, I know that Matt was talking about, our neighbors recently got a, complete mint condition Gremlin, and they park it outside, which is kind of cool to see. It's silver, and it has, a black stripe on it. Don't see too many of those. Don't see too many AMC vehicles either, which is kind of neat. I was looking on the Facebook Marketplace today, and I saw a real nice looking 1951, I think it was, Motorola black and white television. And when I saw it, I just kind of like, I don't know, I thought it was neat because that identical TV is in a family friend's like dump. They live out in the country, and their house used to have like a dump before the garbage service went out there. And the old owners had found that identical TV out there, but obviously I can't pick it up because of the elephant in the room. Speaking of which, we've had a few cases in our county. We're quite rural though, so it's not surprising that there is, but it's also not surprising that there's not. So I guess that's me, my turn.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Before I go back to the net here, just please tell the net what county you are in so that everybody understands why you're on the phone here.
Barron, so quite far away in Wisconsin.
Okay, and which county is that in?
It's Barron County.
Oh, sorry, I misheard. Okay, all right, thank you. Barron County.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay, and obviously Joe is out of range here for the net here, but the other reason is Joe is not yet licensed for amateur radio, and we'll get him there here eventually, and then we'll have to do something else. We'll have to do something over HF or maybe even 10 meters. We'll see. Speaking of band conditions, it does seem like everybody is a little bit higher than normal tonight. I guess my only benchmark right now is Dave. Dave, your signal is a 6, and maybe I should look back. Maybe you've been at a 6 since you did your antenna work. I don't know for sure, but I think that's, if nothing else, that's up from what it was the last time I remember it. The problem here is I normally keep a list of old net logs so that I can look what everybody's signal strength has been, and I moved all that stuff when I did the phone work here, so all of those have been put away. And Joe, fine business on the Gremlin. It used to be a very common car. You just don't see a whole lot of those anymore. And quite frankly, I'd say 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, you'd see AMC vehicles all over the place in the northern part of the state. I didn't spend too much time in your area, but I know other areas you used to see them all over the place. I hope that Gremlin's got a 258 in it, or maybe a 304. Anyway, also fine business on the TV. But we are still at the bottom of the list. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. Hearing none, I was hoping that Bill WQ9A would be here tonight, but he must have forgot. So we'll go to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC, it's your turn again from KC9UDX.
Okay, thank you, Matt. KC9UDX and the net, W9JCC, and good evening to everybody else that checked in after I did. And I got down here about 6 or 7 minutes to the top of the hour, and I happened to turn 10 meters on, and I heard one horrendously strong station and a few others in there. So I don't know how it's doing now, but the band was definitely open. And I guess this was my AM day. I had checked into the 40-meter forum at noon today. It's an AM net on 40 meters. And now this one. And I guess I didn't do any other HF to speak of. Fine on the bench there, Matt. I know you showed pictures of it a few weeks ago. And hopefully that's getting pretty close to completion there. Yeah, and the poor man's phone patch works really good. I wouldn't touch a thing. Joe's coming through just fine on that. And Joe mentioned some 1951 items there. I happen to have our first TV we ever had. The first one my dad bought was a 1951 General Electric, and it's sitting about 20 feet from me here on the other side of the basement. And it still works. I had it turned on here probably within the last year. Takes a little bit to warm up, but it does work. In 1951, that's also the first car I had, a 51 Kaiser. And my father-in-law had a Wrangler Gremlin, and I worked at the Wrangler plant when I was going to college down in Kenosha. So quite familiar with those. And signal report-wise, Matt, you're peaking 45/9, sometimes 40. I mean, a little bit of QSB on the signal, not very much, but it certainly can't hear it. Bill was a 5 and 7, Scott about 10/9, Dave about 5 and 8, and Steve there was about S9. So everybody coming in really good shape. So back to net control, we think W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank, and fine business on working at the Kenosha plant. I had no idea that you worked there. Of course, a lot of people from around here worked at Rambler and at AMC and at Nash, you know, and you just don't hear about it anymore just because nobody talks about that anymore. But that's good that you worked there. All of my cars are AMCs or at least designed by AMCs, and some of them sold by Chrysler, but the majority of my cars were built by AMC. I think only 2 of them came out of Kenosha, though. Most of them that I've had were built in Brampton, Ontario, and that's only because I've only had late model cars. I've never had anything old enough to have really been produced in Kenosha. Of course, Kenosha production was geared toward the Renaults and kind of winding down by the time the cars that I have were being built, so that's the reason for that. My Eagle Camback, which is the one that I got running again for the first time here in almost 20 years, that one was built in Kenosha. And before I keep talking on and on here, we'll go next to Scott, KB9RZO from KC9UDX.
Yeah, real good. Yeah, I'm hearing everybody pretty well, especially Steve. Holy cow. I had to reach over and turn the volume down. You were just pounding me here. Of course, I'm not too far from Gertie's Corner, so you were pretty out there in my backyard. Actually, front yard. But anyways, I'm going to have to say 7-3, so I got to get going here and take care of some stuff for the work day tomorrow. So it's time to hit the snore shelf, as an old friend of mine used to say. So I'll say 7-3. Definitely a pleasure. I'll have to remember this again next week. We'll say 7-3s all the way around. Everybody have a great one and be safe. KB9RZO.
All right, thank you, Scott. I will say 7-3 to you, but we do not, unfortunately, do this net every week. We do it once a month, and the next one will be on the 12th of May. We do this on the second Tuesday of every month, which sounds kind of odd, but it just worked out best that way, not conflicting with other nets and other activities and my work schedule. So that's what we do, the second Tuesday of every month at 8 p.m. Central Time. So thank you again for being here, and we'll look forward to you being here next month. And next we have Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. So I paid attention to the radio this time. Let's see. Scott's probably the weakest over here, even weaker than Steve tonight. I don't know if I ever actually heard Steve anytime he tried to check into this net. Scott was in S1, Matt, you're doing S9, and Frank's S7. I think I mentioned Frank before. But everybody's copyable. actually have a scanner running across like all the normal FM frequencies and 2 and 220, 440, etc. And I was hearing Indiana and Michigan, and I flipped on the real radio, and I mean Illinois were coming in just like they were right here. Even the ones that I don't normally hear. So I don't remember when that was. Monday, Tuesday, somewhere in there last week. And while hearing the antennas open, I call it now 3/4 of an antenna out there. My off-center fed wire, which shouldn't have been touched at all last year when I took everything down, except for, well, no, probably not anything at all. Maybe just pulling the coax out where it comes through the house. But in the course of pulling the coax out, I discovered some major chunks of insulation missing where it passes through and over a fairly sizable tree branch of the coax. So I got new coax, and we dropped the center of it down, and that the quick project there turned into something that lasted across 2 days, and we still didn't get it back up where everything is supposed to be. And then my back blew up, and so all of that work came to a stop. Eventually, last fall, before the snow came along, I was able to get the coax in the house, not really well, but since there wouldn't be any more grass cutting, it wouldn't matter. But the antenna isn't resonant anywhere right now. And so I just kind of let it, okay, fine. And now I don't have anything. Because the vertical came out and the directional antenna, the butterfly, had to come down because of where some of the guy wires went when we had all the landscaping work done. Anyway, let's see, long story. A couple of weeks ago, it was like, well, it was a CQ WPX contest, which was kind of the last major one, since I missed all the fall and most all the spring ones. And I thought, well, I just turned the radio on, and somebody had said 40 was open at the time, and late Friday night. Weather wasn't really good here. It was rainy and stuff. There was severe weather coming, at least in other parts of the country, but I think the weather contributed to some fairly decent propagation. Anyway, I fired up. I was able to load the antenna, make the radio happy, even though I was getting probably about half of the power actually out. But amazingly enough, I did work the contest, and I actually beat last year's score. And I did it in an hour and a half less time with fewer contacts. And then I haven't had the guts to try it anymore since. As far as like the 10-meter net goes, Frank, I tried listening a couple of times, and other than Bill and Ted KQQ that lives not too far from here, I pretty much can't hear anybody, and it doesn't even come close to trying to load up right now. So that still has to wait until I get other things up and running. So with that long story, I'll send it back to the net. This is WB9BWP.
Thank you, Dave. Long stories are much appreciated here on AM. and I have no time limit tonight. I don't know how everybody else on the net is, but I won't be running into a brick wall at 9 o'clock like usual, so no problem at all. You know, it upset me. I realized, about an hour too late Friday night last week that I could have been checking into the 10-meter net on Friday nights. I haven't done that in years, and I haven't had an opportunity to, and it's been so long that I've been able to that I'd forgotten all about it, and hopefully I'll have to set a reminder so that I do that this week. If nothing else, it'll encourage me to lift my feed line up off the ground, raise my antenna up, and turn my HF rig on for a change and actually use it. Speaking of contests, that's something else I could be doing here, but I've been so busy getting things done that I can't get done. I haven't been doing those kind of things either. And that's something I really need to do. I really need to fix my feed line. It's literally laying on the ground all the way across the yard, and everybody's trampling on it. And what I intended to do, and I should do this, is there was an article in QST a few years ago about how you can use that pipe insulation tubing to put around window line like I have, and then I could lay it on the ground. So I need to buy a bunch of that stuff, and then I can route it wherever it happens to go instead of trying to hold it up off the ground. But now I'm talking too long, and I don't want to delay Steve. N9FSE, it's your turn from KC9UDX.
Matt, you're got an awesome signal, and I'm glad to hear I'm finally getting some potent sounds around. I'll probably sound a lot better to Dave, too. And it was no problem with the delay because, like I said, I had a 220 rig on, and I made my first contact in the 222 sprint. First I thought it was Frank, but had to listen carefully to the call sign and find the right mic and all that. And it was K9JCP Ron on there, and it's like my first contact for the 222 sprint that goes from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. local. So at least I got one contact and the one grid down, so I'm not going to be rover on that one. That's too much work. But so I made one contact in the contest. Right now I'm in New Berlin, and I'm roving around some of these commercial towers that I've known for a while. One's works even, and I may pull into the driveway there, but I'm on the high grounds out here in New Berlin, and your inspiration, Matt, I wish I could apply myself that well. I usually just get lost in reading garbage on the internet and the socials and all that, and all that. But at least I've been getting some stuff done, and I did commit myself to this. I knew I had to do this, and now I know where to go mobile to do this. Like I say, it's probably I don't know if we have any others. We've been fixed mobile, me and little Tommy on EAW in the past, but usually over at Maryknoll there. But this is a little more of a hot spot, a little more centrally located to most of the hams on this net. So I know where to operate from mobile now, I think. So we'll see what everybody thinks about all that. And it's driving around all the high ground. It's kind of a nice tour here. Trying not to look too suspicious, which I think I'm doing good so far on. And I gotta make a turn. At least I got one extra antenna on the truck here because I've finally got sick of it just having the Magma, which I'm using right now, and putting it in and out. I finally put a quarter wave on there for the FM radio. And like I said, like I told Scott, I was beating on pots and pans trying to get people stirred up for this net here tonight. So, I believe I'll turn it back. We'll see how much longer I can keep doing orbits around Waukesha here, which is quite enjoyable. There's not much traffic, at least where I'm at right now. That's for certain. All the traffic's in the restaurants and a little bit on the 164 road there. I'll turn it back over to you, Matt, and good to hear Joe, and like I said, and the whole crew out here. Everybody's got great signals to the mobile, although there's some areas I drive, we got a little bit of interference, rhythmic interference. I don't hope it ain't the truck, but I'll just blame it on U-verse or something here. Back to Matt. This is N9FSE AM Mobile.
All right, thank you, Steve. And I think I know exactly where you are. I used to live over there. I remember when that tower was built. I couldn't tell you what year that was anymore, but I do remember that tower being built very well. I remember a lot of other people that lived in the area complaining about the lighting on the tower because it's not incandescent red lights, or I think it is sometimes, but there's white strobe lights on it too. I don't know if anybody watching on YouTube can see this. My monitor went out here, but I'm holding up a frequency counter that I hate to say I forgot I had. I used to use this all the time for the net here, and that's because I didn't used to have a crystal. I had that VFO, which I'm not sure you can see in the picture, but it would drift a little bit, and I would have to make sure my frequency was on all the time. And that crystal this thing indicates that that crystal is dead on again, like it should be. We are at 145.70 something. 700, 701, something like that. But anyway, I'm only bringing this up because I made a video a while back demonstrating one of my frequency counters and saying that I had another one that I couldn't find, and this is not it, so I have 3 of them. I've owned quite a number of frequency counters over the years, and I currently own 3, I guess. We are at the bottom of the list. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. Hearing none, I will turn it over to our YouTube viewer, Joe Bratwurst. Joe, it's your turn.
All right. Thanks. On the topic of antennas, my family has been looking at possibly getting an attic or rooftop antenna because we have an indoor antenna, but it doesn't get anything. It used to get 4 PBS stations, but now with the new rescan thing that they did this year, none of them show up anymore, and we don't even have a weather station at all. It's just completely dead. Luckily, they are not very expensive. Go down to the hardware store, they're only about $100. I guess the hard part would kind of be installation. But yeah, kind of surprised me about their price. Recently we've had some snow, which really kind of surprised me when I saw that, a winter storm warning. Because the weather's been so nice out lately. So yeah, we got like 3, maybe 4 inches in the past week or so. Luckily it melts pretty quickly. Once all the snow is gone, kind of want to go out into the woods and do a little metal detecting. Maybe make a few YouTube videos on it, as I've done in like last year. And it'll be good for the big social distancing thing because I'll be way out in the middle of nowhere. So with that, I guess that's the end of my thing.
All right, thank you, Joe. And yeah, it would be a good time to go out and make some videos. You know, we got flurries down here. We had, well, actually we had some pretty good snowfall this afternoon. I tried to make a video of it, but every time I stepped outside, the snow went away. We had a pretty good blizzard going on for a while, a couple times actually. And nothing that was stick to the ground or anything, but I did hear that there was quite a bit of snow up north. Now, normally I would say that would be a good thing, but I'm pretty sure that nobody would be grooming ski trails anymore this late in the year, first of all, and even the ones that still would be this late in the year will not be doing it because all the parks are unmanned now. I have gone to a couple of state parks recently, and the attendance has been astounding, and I can understand why they're closing some of the parks now. You know, they made a big mistake, in my opinion, letting in people who are not paying. They dropped the attendance fees for state parks. Normally you have to pay to park. You could walk in, but most people don't do that. They normally park in the parking lot where you have to pay, and they waived that fee during this this COVID business. So, of course, the parks are being overrun by people, and you can imagine that if all kinds of people who normally wouldn't go to the park are now going because they don't have to pay, there's all kinds of vandalism, and I guess there's been lots of littering and whatever else. So unfortunately they've been closing some parks. I'll have to one of these days here, probably on the weekend, since we're effectively homeschooling my children now during the week, probably during the weekend. I'll have to check out some more parks, see what's still open. And let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. Hearing none, we'll go back to the top of the list. Oh, before I do that, Steve, I wanted to say, I think I forgot to say it, that your signal is peaking 7 on my meter now, which, of course, given your new location, is understandable. Anyway, let's go to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, thanks, Matt. And, yeah, Steve's signal went up over here, too. He was S9 when he first came on the net, and he's about 15 over 9. So good copy on your there, Steve, from the Mobile. And, Dave, hope you get 10 meters straightened out there with the antenna. I think you said antenna troubles. Yeah, well, 10-meter net's been going pretty good. I think we've been pulling in, well, I don't know, a dozen or 15 stations a night there. So we've been trying to make that one as well. And yeah, on the AMC cars, if all you're driving is AMC cars there, man, you must have a pretty old fleet. My gosh, I had the last AMC car I had was a 1963 Rambler, and it had a V8 with a standard, transmission, just a 3-speed. And it was a very nice car. It wasn't very old when I got it. And we got it, well, I sold it in about 1967, but we got it a couple years before that. Let's see, we'll say 73 was Scott. He's probably gone to bed already. And Matt, I went looking for the video, for the channel for the live transmission of the audio here, and I did find the closest thing I got to it was the 2 a.m. net, 12 June 2018, and a ton of other stuff, but nothing that looked like the current live transmission. So we'll get to it. I've tried to get on it before other times, and I think I just Googled your call and I was able to find it, but for some reason tonight that didn't work. And yeah, we got a Spectrum bill today, and I noticed it jumped $20 a month. So I tried to call them, and they were so busy that they wouldn't answer the phone. So we'll try again early in the morning and see if we can get any satisfaction from those guys, or maybe we got to start looking for something else. Anyway, back to net control, KC9UDX, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. I did send you an email with a link directly to the video tonight. So check your email if you haven't already. If you have, then maybe I have to send that again. It will be hard to find the one tonight. There's something screwy about YouTube. It seems to think that this video was made a couple of months ago, I guess. I'm not exactly sure why that is. But when I tried to solve that problem a couple of months ago, I think I mentioned this earlier, probably before the net though. When I tried to schedule a video and do everything the right way, it works. It all shows up on time and everything, but it doesn't end up on my channel. It ends up somewhere out there in the middle of nowhere, I guess. Nobody knows where it ends up. So I keep doing everything the way I used to do it, which is not the way YouTube wants you to do it anymore. And it keeps working, but now this video is hard to find. But I did send you a link directly to it. And find business on the 63 Rambler. You know, a lot of guys talk about how they had these cars back then, and they say they wish they had them today because they'd be worth so much money. And unfortunately, with that car, it probably wouldn't. You wouldn't be able to sell it and recover the cost of owning it since then. That's for sure. The one nice thing about AMC vehicles is they're not expensive because they're not highly valued. You know, the big 2 and Chrysler type people, the GM, Ford, and Chrysler people, they don't really think too much about AMCs, and I guess, well, if obviously if you owned one, you probably know this. Everybody was pretty derisive about them. A lot of people just don't understand the value in them. I really believe that they are better cars than what most of the cars that came out of Detroit were. I can cite examples on every part of every car they ever made as to why they actually are better. I get into arguments about this stuff with people all the time. I always have. You know, there's always guys I meet who tell me that my engine, which is a 258, was actually a Chevy engine that AMC bought from Chevrolet and somehow modified in some way, and that's just utter baloney. AMC always, you know, they did of course buy a few engines from other companies, but when they made engines, they always made engines that were better in every way to engines that were similarly sized from other companies. And anyway, I'm going on and on again here. Next we'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. Well, that's fine. It's good to hear other people go on and on, so I'm not the only one that does that. I did not try looking on YouTube. I just did while you were talking. I went to YouTube and I typed in 2 space AM, that just because when I was typing 2 AM altogether, it was showing all kinds of other things, even things that's not in English. And anyway, I got to a page that the first entry is 2 AM net from June 2019. But then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th one down. Finally listed tonight's, and I did switch over there, and yes, that really is tonight. But it came after, let's see, what does this one say? TV9 Telugu Live. Whoever that is, and whoever they are. 24/7 news channel in, wow, I can't even pronounce those names. So, anyway, I guess the live version of this net gets lower priority than whatever that news channel is. And yeah, you know, Google likes to, they lose interest real quick. They've got real bad attention deficit over there. And, you know, they can't let something just sit alone. They gotta go and mess with it. I noticed that with YouTube and with some of their other stuff. It's like, wow, this is something new. I didn't know it did, or I didn't want it to do that. Anyway, yeah, in the AMC discussion, I never had any AMC cars, but I do remember one year while I was still in college at MSOE, they became a real popular employer for summer jobs. And a lot of people were snapping them up because they paid more than any jobs that were even mildly related to maybe what you were doing. I think they were all factory jobs, but they paid a lot, and for some reason they were looking for a lot of students in the summer. The closest I ever got to any of that was I had a one-day job while I was going to school at Harnischweger up on National. My job was to sit in the parking lot of the credit union and count the cars coming in and out and how many people were in the car. It was 12 hours one day, lunch was provided, and it paid pretty well, actually. Too bad it was just one day, and obviously it was not hard work. Anyhow, I think with that I'll send it back to Net just so that I don't talk forever on one round. This is WB9BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. And it's okay if you talk forever. It's not okay if I do, because as net control, if I talk forever, then nobody gets a turn. But if you do, that's fine. I had a job for one day, one time. A guy with a local business here I'm not exactly sure what he was trying to do, but he was taking in computer parts on consignment, and a lot of things were broken, and he hired me to fix them. And what he actually hired me to do was monitor repair, and I was able to do that, but he promised me $75 an hour, and I showed up on my first day of work, and I could tell that this guy was not going to be paying me $75 an hour. And honestly, in 1994, I think it was, 1995 maybe, nobody was going to be paying somebody my age back then $75 an hour anyway. But it became obvious to me that this guy wasn't going to do that, and I guess I was working on a monitor. I'll never forget this. I fixed one and I moved on to the next one, and the next one, for some reason, the picture was upside down. Somebody had tinkered with this thing and done something seriously wrong, and I thought, oh hey, this is no problem. I'll just swap the leads on the deflection yoke for the vertical. And I guess I was nervous because I think the owner of the company had left or something, and I figured I just wasn't going to get paid, and I got absent-minded and I did something wrong, and I burned out the vertical output transformer, and so I put the thing back together. I left a note, and I left, and I never came back. So that's the only reason it was a one-day job. I think it would have been anyway, but this guy was a couple of years later, I know that he got in trouble with the law with all kinds of things. So I would not have been in a good position if I had stayed working there. Anyway, let's go to Steve, N9FSE Mobile from KC9UDX.
Oh, wow, now I got a side tone. Hold on. There we go. I was listening, I did a quick stop at the Quick Trip, and I'm blowing up another radio. Leaning on another one, so the buttons are bipping away. This is good fun out here today. So I was over by New Berlin, now I'm back up on the north end here, approaching Davidson Road area. So I'll probably circle through another gas station or two over here near Gerke's Corners. So yeah, Dave picked up big time. He didn't mention how big of my signal was there. But what's kind of neat, I was hearing Frank on the portable, on the VX6, which picks up AM nicely. So you come out in this neighborhood, I can get some of the stations on the portable even. It's just like running around on a repeater. It's good fun. And rather eye-opening compared to my usual stuff, trying to get in from like my house or order a lift for a while and all that kind of stuff on the north side of Milwaukee. Is a lot more fun when you're in the high signal zone here. And just coming back eastbound again on East 18. I'll probably swing in through the 7-Eleven and park there for a little while and listen to signals from up here. So everything's just incredible tonight. It's fun watching your videos, especially that you got the cam back going there. And I guess I had one EMC, which was the Jeep. I had a CJ7 ages ago with the 258. Tried a different engine on that, and the whole thing wasn't meant to be for serious business for me, but it was fun while it lasted, we'll put it that way. And maybe I'd get back into it someday with one of the newer, the Chrysler flavored ones. But that's about all I know about that. Never did the Amiga thing, as you know, but I've played VIC-20s and C64 stuff way back in the day. Oh yeah, this is a quick trip too. I can work on quick trips today. It used to be the 7-Eleven down here, waiting for the lights to change and see what we can do to burn up some more time before I head back home. Or maybe I'll go home and see how kind of range I got, but I wouldn't expect it to be pretty or fun. So good to make the noise out here. Good to stir up what I could. Get people out here, and we'll still be in here. Throw it to me another round. We'll turn it back to you at this time, though. N9FSE.
All right, thank you, Steve, and I do appreciate you spreading the word here, stirring up activity. Fine business on the CJ7. That is the vehicle I've one of the two vehicles I've wanted since I was a very, very young kid. I remember My uncle, who's not my uncle anymore, long story, but I had an uncle that had a CJ7, and I had an experience in I think it was 1980 or 1981, maybe, no, it had to be later than that, I think, probably 86, that I have not forgotten. You know, I think now I only remember the memory of it, I don't remember it directly, but in any case, I had an experience riding in that, and I wanted one of those ever since then. And the other car I always remembered, I think it was 1981 or 1982 when the local AMC dealer put up a Eagle SX4 Sport, a black one. They put it up on ramps out in front of the dealership like all the other dealers do with their pickup trucks. And ever since I saw that car, I always wanted one. And I actually did own one, but it was terribly rotted out, and it was to the point where I wanted to keep it and fix it up, but there was just no way I'd ever get around to it. So I sold it to some guy from Illinois for $50. I actually sold it to two different people on the same day. I sold it to one guy and he didn't show up, and I told him if he doesn't show up, I'm going to sell it to the next guy that comes, and another guy came and bought it, and the first guy was all upset about that, but what was I going to do about it anyway? He wasn't even going to give me $50 for it like the other guy did. I think if I sold that today, I could get $1,000 for it, even in the bad condition it was in. In fact, that was the kind of car that I kind of wanted to buy when I bought my Camback, but I bought the Camback instead because it was there, and I know from experience that a Camback is incredibly more rare, so that's why I bought that one. And it is, of course, even more rare to this day. There are hardly any of those left. There were hardly any made. There are hardly any left, and unfortunately, the ones I hear about besides my own are all ones that are in junkyards being partsed out, and all the body shells are in good condition, but they're in, you know, far away from here. So there's one guy on eBay he's got a lower control arm, which I need. I kind of want to buy that from him, but he's charging more for that than what I paid for the car. And of course he tore it off of another Camback, and he's proud to say that he's tearing this thing up and junking it. And I guess he has no idea what the value of that car would be. Probably isn't much value, I guess, but there are hardly any of those left. There may be 100 left, if even. I don't know. Anyway, the other comment I was going to say, Steve, if you were going to work all Quick Trips, you'd have your work cut out for you. There's Quick Trips in far distant places now. I think they have some in lower Michigan too. I'm not sure. Anyway, next let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. Hearing none, we may not get any more at this late time here, but I'll keep going as long as everybody else wants to keep going. Next, I'll go to Joe. Joe, go ahead and take a turn again.
All right. Your story about the PC store kind of cracked me up a little bit. That was pretty funny. And that jogged my memory on how before all this closing, everything happened, I was going to buy from a teacher who worked at the middle school a 1992 Windows 3.1 Toshiba laptop. I still don't know the price that she was going to offer. I really was hoping under, $50, $75, and just untested. I think it works. She thinks it works, but I don't know. I would just say it was untested. When you were talking about like cars and stuff, how you sold one for really cheap. We had a 90s Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme that we sold for I think $1 to a guy who's gonna repair it and put it back on the road. It was dead. I think it had a dead battery or something, or possibly the alternator had some issues with it. But yeah. And so yeah, I guess that's all from me.
All right, thank you, Joe. And the price of cars and things fluctuates quite a bit. I'm sure you know this, but you know, I've bought cars for $100 that are worth $1,000, and you know, you quick sell them and you make a quick buck, and then you go and you buy another one for $100 and sell it for $1,000. My daily driver, which isn't exactly a daily driver anymore because the transmission went out, one of these days I've got to deal with that. I paid $400 for that. My Camback, you know, oddly enough, I bought it on eBay. I bought it from a guy on the east side of Milwaukee who had it on eBay. I was the only bidder. I think I won the auction for $100, and with the fees it came out to $103. So that's what I paid for that car. You couldn't buy that car for $103 right now if you had to. I've bought all kinds of cars for very little money, and usually I'm the last guy to own them though. But I tend to get 10 years worth of use out of a car that I'll spend $1,000 on. I'll put it that way. It always works out in my favor. But part of that is because I always know what to look for when I'm buying them. Oh, and that's the other thing I was going to say, Steve. If you look at buying a Chrysler era Jeep, I could give you some pointers if you want. You really want to avoid certain years and certain models. Chrysler really does a number on everything they touch. Chrysler has made a few nice cars over the years, but really they've done a tremendous amount of damage, especially to the leftovers at AMC. So if you buy like a Jeep up to 1990, Chrysler hadn't really changed anything up to that point. You get up to about 1992 and they made minor changes, and up to 96 they made more changes and they were still okay, but beyond that they started to really fall apart. So obviously there's different things with different models too, but anyway, I won't keep going on about that. We will go back to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, very good there, Matt. KC9UDX, W9JCC. And on the engines on the Ramblers, the only thing I can tell you is when I used to walk into the final assembly part of the plant, they used to have their test engineering right near the entrance, and they used to have an engine running in there, full bore, and probably doing life test on it. And that happened, every time I'd walk in the door, that's what you'd hear. And they'd probably run them until something broke, and then figure out what broke, and then go fix it again. And I didn't. You may have sent the link, but I was in there. I don't use the computer down here to read email very, very seldom. And when I opened up the email, there was about 60 or 70 emails in there that were on the old side, so I tried to clean all that up, and I hope I didn't clean up the one you sent. But yeah, if you get a chance to send it in your spare time there, go ahead and resend it, because I cleaned the whole thing out. I only got a couple in there that I needed to keep. And as far as getting out into parks, we haven't done that, but we've been walking once or twice a day. We get around the block here. And today I only took one walk, and I didn't see a soul except a bunch of people working on a roof. Somebody's putting a new roof on, but other than that, I didn't run into anybody, and they were on the opposite side of the street, so fairly safe. So I think I'm going to say 73s and get upstairs and see what the XYL's up to. She was watching a movie when I came down here, and it's probably done by now. So we'll go up and see what's going on up there. But thanks for running them up, Matt. Great job as usual. And we will look forward again next month on the second Tuesday there. And good hearing a couple of new guys in there tonight. It was good to hear you, Steve. I think it's been a while since we heard you on here. So back to net control, and I will bow out on this one, Matt. KC9UDX, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And the next month will be the 12th of May. Of course, you will figure that out anyway, but just that's the day it is. So I did send you another email with that link again. So if you get it, that should be it. If not, let me know and I'll send another one. That's the best way to find my channel, I guess, unless I send you a link directly to the channel, and that just doesn't work out very well most of the time. And in fact, normally because I'm using a phone, I can't get at the link to my channel for some reason. What's funny is the video for tonight I cannot find on my own channel. I have to go to my second channel to to get at it. And that's part of the problem with the way YouTube has been treating these videos. I can't even see it myself. And fine business on destructively testing the engines there at the Kenosha plant. The place that I work, they don't destructively test them, but they do run them like that. But they're in an enclosed room, and where I work, where I normally sit, is real close to that room, so I get to hear them when they're running, and it's pretty impressive hearing that inside of a building. Anyway, next we'll go to Dave. Oh, I should say 7-3 Frank. Thank you as always for being here. And next I will go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. I was just looking over there on YouTube to see if I can figure out just where it is sitting. I see your hand moving. So, it says KC9UDX, 104 subscribers. Yep, and there's your hand waving. Anyway, Steve talking about the work off quick trip. I think it was last fall. I don't remember exactly when, but somebody organized a QSO party of Walmart parking lots or something. It was like, you're supposed to get in your car and go and park in a Walmart parking lot and see if you can work other stations sitting in Walmart parking lots. I didn't give that a shot, so I don't remember. I just remember hearing about it. I don't even remember when that was. Let's see, I'm just looking over my notes here. I'll probably say 73 here in this round also. We made it past 9 o'clock, so see, we're doing good. And I'll certainly, once again, I'll rub it into Jerry, K9FI, and, it's like, I reminded you, where were you? I have to keep doing that to him anyway. I'm always needling him with stuff. Over the last few weeks, and Steve might have been part of both of them. We've had a couple of Zoom-based club meetings, both MRAC and AREF did. Oh, and for Steve, I did watch those Weather Service, the so-called spotter training videos. They're actually kind of wimpy. But then again, I'm comparing it to stuff that I remember, back in the Rusty days. But yeah, I watched all 6 of those that they put out, and it's like, oh, okay. But I guess that counts, right? I got my official training in for the year. Good hearing everybody, and it's always good when I can hear everybody. And maybe all this stuff is a sign too. There's been more days of HF waking up a little bit, and even VHF, and it's not even summer for VHF. So who knows? Maybe we have passed the bottom there. At least we can have something that's looking up, and it'll be interesting to see how the world is come to NextNet here. I've been telling this to multiple people that I don't know how many of you guys get that newsletter that Sherm KB9Q sends out every week. He's always got a bunch of quotes in it, and there was a Steve Martin quote. Said he went to the doctor one day, and the doctor said, "I got some good news and some bad news. The good news is you get to have my best to be here next month, and everybody should at least take the opportunity, I guess, to get on the radio a little more. I have been hearing more voices on some of the local repeaters other than on nets, and that's a good sign. So, with that, I'll get out of the way, and this is WB9 BWP. Back to net.
All right, thank you, Dave. I will say 7-3 to you, and of course, again, it's the 12th of May when we will do this again, and there is that is an interesting point about, how much goes on in the world between our nets here. That's something that other nets don't really experience. Most nets are weekly or daily, and a lot can happen in the world in our month, and obviously this last month a lot of things happened. You mentioned the weather spotter training online. I did see that, and I was going to look into it, and I forgot. I don't know if that's over now. I'll have to look again. And the Zoom business for the meetings, I joined into the Zoom meeting, whatever you call it, for the Mars Club meeting, and at least from my perspective, that was a disaster. I kind of had the opinion that as amateur radio people, we'd be more organized and kind of run that like a net where everybody gets a turn to talk. And I guess I only say that because nobody knew I was there, because I was calling on the phone and everybody else was on the computer and they could see each other. And every time I tried to say something, everybody else would talk at the same time, so nobody ever heard me. So nobody knew I was there. But that's, I guess, my fault for not logging in on a computer. Anyway, well, that was my first experience with that Zoom stuff. I guess it wasn't a good one. But anyway, we'll go to Steve, N9FSE Mobile. Steve, if you're still there, from KC9UDX.
KC9UDX and 9FSE. I had to leave the quick trip a little bit noisy there. And didn't hear Dave so well, but now he probably have trouble hearing me because it's a little lower elevation. But we're going to park about here a little bit in the Woodman's lot, and then we'll get mobile again afterwards. And yeah, I was going to say, I didn't know you were there. Didn't know you were in there. It was kind of funny. I was running a little late myself, meeting day, and I fired it up. I pulled over, got the meeting started on the phone, and then drove with the camera shot up through the steering wheel at me. And then I got home and I was on from there for a while. But it was good fun, and I don't know, maybe you were just muted. You gotta throw it in there. I threw it in there a couple of times and didn't share a whole lot, but it seems a little more organized than the MREC meeting with a lot of the same guys, and including Dave and and all that. So it's something everybody's learning how all that works, and yeah, I've been a party to a lot of those meetings, and the ones that aren't online, there's even like Miller Valley. They've moved since they've lost their space for this fun. They moved to 513, so they were this evening, every Tuesday they're on at 6 to whenever they're done on 513 in place of their in-person meeting. So it's kind of cool that Mars is able to help them out with that. I think you heard that on the thing as well. But back to EFCs and Chryslers and all, yeah, after my experience with the Jeep, and I don't know, it was just too worn out or too rusted out, and currently I'm driving this Dodge pickup. I think there's a lot more to this, the life in this pickup than my, what year was that, 79 or 80 Jeep? I don't remember anymore even. And this thing's got 203,000 miles and counting on the pickup here. And it's got a stick shift too, just like the old Jeep, but it's no four-wheel drive here, but it's a lot simpler that way as well. And I'm going to have to give W9GA a call. I heard him on 223. We'll see if I can scare him up and get one more point in that 222 sprint. So I put it back in the scan. There was the Cedarburg repeater was stopping the scan because they tie it together with the 9.7 for their Tuesday once a month now. So I guess the ORC, they do theirs on the air too with a video backbone, but they've gone to every Wednesday they got to rate you when they're not having their monthly meeting. But it's really neat. All the nets just like this one, all the nets are going along. There's more people checking in. All the repeaters a little more busy. But yeah, if you get a chance on your 2-meter FM, don't forget I've been burning up the airwaves on the Viking repeater in Milwaukee, the one with my call on it at 147.135, and got a bunch of people out there have the busiest CW code practice on any repeater in the area on there. So it's not a lot of power out, but it's got the ears fixed since last July, and we put the temporary repeater in service in the proper position up on the site. So I'm trying to see if this thing's on the air. Oh yeah, there's the transmit light. I got one too many radios in here. Usually I live with the UHF and the VHF, but now I got the 706 and the 220 thing, and that thing it's the fine chinesium, but the blue is too bright. I got to put something over that display so it doesn't burn my night vision out. Turn it back to you on this round, and I probably should make the next one my 73 round and head back to the city. I got work in the morning and got a modified schedule by where I'm from. We got a 2-day thing, so I got Wednesday and Thursday, and then I'm back to trying to figure out what to do and at least getting a little bit of it done. So this is N9FSE. Back to you, Matt.
All right, thank you, Steve. And well, that CJ7 you had, I don't know who had it before you or what happened to it. You know, you can buy used cars in all kinds of conditions, but it is pretty normal for a vehicle like that to go over 300,000 miles. They're pretty well known for that. But you do find them here and there where people didn't keep them up or whatever. I've had a few Chrysler vehicles that went way beyond what they should have too. You know, I'm not saying Chryslers are terrible, but what they did to Jeep wasn't a good thing. The pre-Chrysler ones were definitely better in a lot of ways. There were some improvements made during Chrysler's ownership, but for the most part, things kind of went downhill. Anyway, you know, it's funny. It is my fault on the Zoom thing for Mars. You know, there were a couple of times when there were large dead spaces and nobody was talking. That's when I should have spoke up, but I figured by that time that happened, I was already out of it. You know, I was thinking that maybe I was muted on the other end. I did double check on my phone, and I was not muted on my end. But it was just kind of ironic. Every time I spoke up and tried to say something, there was at least 2 people talking at exactly the same time. And the other thing that happened, it was when somebody mentioned something on the 513 repeater during that meeting, that I turned on my one remaining working 2-meter FM radio, which is sitting here in front of me. It's a HTX 202, one of these Radio Shack jobs. And I've got a whole bunch of these, and for whatever reason, recently they all did the ER1 thing. And as I turned this one on during that meeting, it worked for a few seconds, and then it quit, and now it's doing what it does now. It's beeping and saying ER1. So I'm going to have to tear that apart and replace the internal battery. But I'm not doing any work on anything electronic until I get my electronics bench done, which is obviously going to be a while yet here. But now you mentioned earlier that you have a VX6, and I do have a VX6 somewhere. That was my first ever amateur radio transceiver. I bought that at AES, I think right before I got my license, or right after, I'm not sure which. I overworked that thing. I pushed the talk button too many times, and there's a little flat one of those Mylar circuit boards that runs underneath the push to talk button, and it flexed that thing too many times, and it you know, the radio quit working. And I was angry about that because I thought it was a poor design, so I never bought the replacement parts, which was probably $6 or something. I probably should look into that and see if those parts are still available. But since you mentioned that, it occurred to me I do have a VX2 and a VX3 here somewhere. I don't know if the batteries still work in those, but you know, since I think about that too, I do have an Alinco here, which I've almost never used. If that thing doesn't work, I've got problems. I ought to dig that thing up and see if that thing still works on 2 meters FM. The problem with that one, of course, is it's got the pole-flung style inverted antenna connector, and I don't have any adapters for that, so I can't hook that up to the big antenna outside. Oh, Joe, that's something I was going to say about antennas. If you have an option to put one in the attic or put one on the roof, don't even consider putting one in the attic. Put it on the roof. The difference is amazing. You definitely want to have an outdoor antenna. Whatever it takes to get one on the roof, do it. Rooftop antenna installations are not as bad as they seem. It's very easy to do them correctly and not have roof leaks. It's always worthwhile to have an antenna outdoors, and if the rooftop is where it's got to be, that's a good spot for it. So with that, I will see if for some reason anybody out there that wanted to get into the net here is listening at this late time. We'll see if there's any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net coming out, please. And hearing none, I will turn it over to you, Joe. Joe, go ahead and take a turn from KC9UDX.
Alright, this will probably be my last entry, you can say. Good to know about the antenna. We used to have a neighbor at my old house who installed a rooftop antenna that was mounted to the chimney. And he apparently got 30 stations with it, which is quite impressive for here. Maybe somehow I can get in contact with him and I can know the exact antenna that he got. I'm not sure the brand really matters at all, if there's quality and not quality antennas, but it'd be good to know. I guess that's all for now. So I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Joe. What I can recommend, don't ever put an antenna on a chimney if you can avoid it. Chimneys are usually in disrepair, whether people believe it or not, because you can go a long time with a chimney in disrepair and it doesn't really matter. But you put an antenna on there and you are stressing that chimney. Don't do that if you can avoid it. What you want to do is get yourself, pay a little bit extra for the antenna if you have to. There are good antennas and bad antennas. I'm not sure what to recommend at this point. I've got a Channel Master brand one, but I don't even know if they still make it or anything. I've got a UHF only antenna, and odds are that's what you want. There is I think we still have a VHF station here locally. I'm not sure if there still are or not, but for the most part there aren't any VHF TV stations anymore. So you do want a UHF one, but what you want to get is a tripod. Get yourself a cheap TV antenna tripod, and when you get it, pull it out of the box and measure the tube for the mast that comes with it, and find your local steel or aluminum supplier and get an aluminum tube with a 1/4 inch wall that's the same outside diameter and a foot or two longer. Those TV mast tubes that come with those tripods are pure garbage. You do not want to use one of those masts. You use a piece of aluminum tubing with a 1/4 inch wall. It will not cost you a ton of money, and it will outlast anything else that happens with that antenna. The mast will be the last thing in the world that will break. And if you can't find a local supplier, I can get one from here, somewhere around here, shipped to you. There's places around here I know where to get that kind of stuff. So that's what you want to do. Anyway, if you get an antenna on the roof, I'm positive you will be happy with the results. With that, there's only a couple of us left here, so Steve, N9FSE, I will turn it over to you from KC9UDX.
Oh, very good. There was holy cow, I'm getting the worry with another. Okay, 220 this time. Sorry about all that. from Little Tommy on 98W. We checked into this net from Mary Knoll with his, what the heck radio did he have? 991A, I think that's what we used that day. And he just tried, he may have just tried with his VX6 or something, or whatever he's got on AM, but I don't think it transmits AM, it listens to AM. It's like I was listening with mine for a little bit, but I didn't hear him, and I don't think you heard him. So I don't know, maybe maybe he can hear me, maybe he can hear you, who knows. But Joel, if you want, take a look at sgcworld.com, and they have a bunch of antenna thumb rules or something like that. It's called under a tech page. Plenty of topics on antennas that make your head spin, but there's a basic rules of antennas, and in there it's any antenna is better than no antenna. But yeah, if you can get it outside, get it outside. Well, I've used plenty of attic antennas in my time, including what I got at home right now. A little bit of a low profile footprint at home, although I do have some push-up masts I should get in service and get them going. So have fun with all that. Oh, you may want to try, there's all kinds of stuff on the internet on how to build a TV antenna with the V-style, bow tie style antenna. There's all kinds of sources of websites and YouTube videos and all that if you want to spend some time with some wire and stamp out your own. If you can put a multi-B bow ties thing together just like you'd buy. But I don't know, for heavy duty and something you want for long lasting, some of these commercial ones are pretty heavy duty and pretty neat. So I'll share that. I heard also I don't know if I mentioned the last time, well, I should finish up with Tommy. He just got done on 6 meters. He said he was working some DX on that band. It's like the 10 meters, so that's been just craziness today. So I missed most of that fun except for hearing the one guy on 10 FM. And then I heard, it's been 2 times ago, I heard John on 220, but I haven't heard him since, so I don't know, there's an hour, let's see, 10, there's an hour and a half or so, just under an hour and a half of the sprint left, so maybe I can catch him again on the way home. I probably shouldn't make tracks for home, but it's been a delightful net, and I'm looking forward to May 12th already. Just if that's kind of neat that I didn't have work today, and I was able to come out and just plan my day, get the stuff going. I wasn't too late for the net. I missed Frank's first transmission, and that was probably the most of it. But darn good to hear everybody out here. Glad we could shake some people out here, and we'll have to do this again next month. And now I know where to go mobile without having to put up a big antenna like we did at Maryknoll with Little Tommy. And maybe we'll get him out here mobile too with his 991 or some other radio. We'll drive up and down 164 here, because I'm right here by the Woodmans right now, down here in the upper part of the Soup Bowl. So I'll turn it back to you. This is N9FSE.
All right, thank you, Steve. And I'm supposed to go back to work. I think the last week of April here, but who knows what's going to happen. I don't know if that's even going to happen. But the other thing that bothers me, May 12th will not be a mandatory overtime day for me, and if I'm on my normal shift and don't have to work overtime, I will certainly be here. But anything could happen. I could end up on a different shift. I may end up being forced to work overtime, or it could be worse yet, where for some reason they've downsized and I don't have a job anymore, and then I can't even predict what's going to happen. So we will have a net either way, but I can't guarantee I'll be here. So the net will be on the 12th of May, no matter what happens. So, Steve, I remember the last time around you said that you were going to make this your last round. Was that still true? Unless I missed it, I don't think I heard you say you were signing out. Steve, go ahead.
Well, you caught me on that one, but I don't know who's all left. Is it you, me, and Joe here?
Roger.
That makes things go a little quicker. I haven't heard little Tommy in here in between. You may want to give him a call. I'll call in 98W. I'll call in 98W first. Hey, little Tommy out there in 98W. This is N9FSE on AM.
N9EAW, N9EAW, are you out there from KC9UDX? I don't hear him, Steve, do you?
I was on FM there because he may have been only answering FM, so I thought I heard something in there, but I can't be certain. So that was a good attempt anyway. Good for the video. We'll look forward to that. And yeah, it's like everybody's future is murky. Employees are nervous, bosses are nervous, owners are nervous. It's not a good situation, but everybody's gonna have to. They're going to have to turn things back on one way or another here soon and get used to this, whatever this new normal ends up being.
Roger. Well, thank you, Steve. And if Tom pokes around here, we'll listen for him. One thing I was going to say, and Joe says here he left a comment on YouTube that he could probably build an antenna with time on his hands. If I'm not mistaken, ARRL has plans for a corner reflector antenna that would work good for UHF TV. I seem to remember reading that at one point. Maybe it was in the ARRL antenna book, which is big and expensive, and maybe they have it online. I'm not sure. But there should be a lot of other, like you said, a lot of instructions out there on how to build TV antennas. Obviously, pre-manufactured ones tend to be cheaper, but not by much. If you have time to build one, building an antenna is probably a good experience. There's other sites like TV Fool. Now I don't know if that's a .com or a .net, but TV Fool, if you search for that, there's all kinds of information there. There's a guy on YouTube who popped up in my recommendations a while back. I can't remember what his channel name is. I'll have to see if I can find that again. All he does is talk technical topics on modern TV in a real boring way. But he has a lot of really good information. If I find that again, I'll forward a link. And with that, I'll pause one more time, see if we have Tom N9EAW. N9EAW, do you want to join the 2 a.m. net? Come now, please. All right, not hearing Tom. Joe, I will give you a turn again from KC9UDX. Go ahead. Joe, are you still with us? I still got the phone off the hook here, and my internet connection is gone, so I don't know if you're still on YouTube. But Joe, if you're there, go ahead. All right, Steve, it may just be you and I. I'm not sure if Joel left or if he's coming back here. My link to my own video here went out, and I can't get it back. Oh, that's awesome. I don't know why this happens. I cannot find my own video. I can find other videos that I've made recently. Oh, here we go. I found it again. So it looks like Joe is still there on YouTube. Maybe he's coming back here. So Steve, I'll turn it back to you. N9FSE from KC9UDX.
All right. I think we're probably gonna shove off, but yeah, there's pretty neat designs on them antennas. Yeah, they got multiple, at least 4 Bs you can build on simple stuff with good design practice, and they got them V bow tie design, which is kind of like a couple of discones back to back, so they're good for wide frequency range and all that, and they tell you how to do it, with a stick of wood, and the fanciest thing you should do is invest in a proper 375 ohm balance, so it takes all the signals and makes good work of them. They say a lot of them are junk going to run it right. I think my next step, my next trick, for my next trick, I'll probably try running it off a big repeater supply, a ferro-resonant supply, but unfortunately for that, I'll have to, I saw a light bulb on the floor of the truck here, but you got to put some sort of load on it, otherwise it idles at a higher voltage, too high a voltage. It's closer to 16 and whatnot, but you put a load on there and it settles down nice, so I might try that. Either that or I'll have to go order off the interwebs, the Amazons, and get a LED switcher. Some of those are cheap for 12 volts and high enough current, so I might have to get a lightweight El Cheapo supply. Amel's been using a lot of them on 38 systems to keep the lights on there, so at the price they are, and they're pretty trouble-free, so, and noise-free, trouble-free, and dirt cheap, but that's always the best Chinesium as well, so, and a lot lighter than that stinking ferro-resonant. My basement will not blow away with a couple of those and a couple of these other old-school, what do they call them, tell something, big old Motorola power supplies. Cement flooring blowing away in my house any day soon. See if you have any comments on any of those crazy topics. Otherwise, I'll probably get going and get back to 220.
Well, I never heard anybody say that there was anything wrong with those cheap Balance, and I guess that's probably all I've ever had, so I never knew there was a better one. Well, I shouldn't say I didn't know there were bad ones. I did know there were bad ones because way long before I got into amateur radio, I had some of those that I cut open and there was nothing inside of them, just wires connecting the two different, the screw terminals and the F connector. There's nothing, no passive components or anything else inside of there. So I did know about those, but I didn't realize that all the rest of them were cheap too. I guess that makes sense. Maybe I don't have very good ones and I didn't even know it. I think we lost Joe. The phone is still off the hook and I don't hear anything on the phone, and he doesn't respond on YouTube, so maybe he had to run. So if you want to get back to the contest there, and maybe I'll see if I can find my Alinco. I got a tri-bander. It's 2 meters, 220, and oh boy, I don't even remember. I don't remember what the other band is. It's higher frequency. It's higher than 70 centimeter, whatever it is. So I'll send it back to you, Steve. N9FSE from KC9UDX.
Is that the one with the 900 in there?
Yeah, it must be.
Oh yeah, cool. I wouldn't mind that. Bought one of those once, but it wasn't for me. The boss had me buy it at Dayton for him. And yeah, those are good California radio, because if you lose your UHF, those are some good bands they have. And N9FSE. Oh, wrong channel. I gotta try W9RX repeater. You gotta give it a dig extricate it, see if you got any battery in there.
Well, I found that Alinco, it is the tri-band one. I've got two of them. I've got another one, and I don't remember what this one does. I had to pull this one out of the charger to plug that one in. I hate to say it, but I forgot I had this one. I'd have to figure out how to operate these things all over again. This one does 220, and maybe that's the only band it has. So maybe the other one doesn't do 220. Maybe that one's 2 meters, 70 centimeter, and 900 megahertz. Maybe this one's only 220.
Okay, go to 22. What channel is that? 224. I think it's 224. Let me dial down. 223 500 or 22352 is simple. It's a calling channel.
223 500.
Yeah, I'm there now. You may even be able to get JCP because he's been listening there.
well, I won't get anywhere from the basement here, and with the funky antenna connector on here, I got no way to hook it up to an outdoor antenna. I've got all kinds of ways I could do that except with this connector. It's got this reverse SMC business, and that's one thing I don't have adapters for. Looking around here, I've got all kinds of other. The only thing I could do, I could plug the antenna into an antenna, but I can't plug the radio into an antenna. This thing is a dual bander. I don't know what the other band is. Maybe it's 220 and 900 on this one, and then I don't know what the other one is.
Oh goodness, that's good fun. Well, I don't know. I can see that's 9, but that's what the beam antenna. I don't even want to try it quick. I'm parked on 223/500 right now.
Well, I keep punching that in on this one, and I keep losing it. I don't remember how to work this thing. 223/500, and then okay, I guess I had to press enter. I didn't realize that.
All right. Well, it's a transmit. Got enough battery for a transmit?
Yeah, it's fully charged here. So N9FSE from KC9UDX. There I am, but I doubt you'll hear me.
Just called you back there. I didn't hear anything, and I trust you didn't hear me. Oh well. Good enough try for now, and yeah, probably should head back northeast.
All right, sounds good. I'll probably carry this thing outside, and I'll give you a call when I get up there, but it'll be 10 minutes or so. I'm pretty sure we lost Joe. I'll at least get to try this radio out and make sure it still works, but I'm not surprised. I know from experience 220 does not work from the basement here, so that's the way that is. It's my fault for not having all the right connectors, because I've had all these other radios that always used to work. Nothing around here works anymore. Well, I'll let you go here. And of course, thank you for being here on the net. It's been a very different net, and it's of course always a lot of fun, and it's certainly been fun tonight. I'll say 7-3 to you, Steve, N9FSE from KC9UDX, and like I said, I'll probably head upstairs and see if you can hear me on this thing.
Been enjoying the heck out of you. I subscribed to your channel finally. I've been enjoying the heck out of the ones I've been watching, and just like all my YouTubes, I put it in the time and a half or 2-time mode. Unless it's really cool, like somebody driving their car around the yard. That's always, I love it. It's awesome. And let's say 73. I'll drag my feet here in the parking lot. It won't be 10 minutes, but I'll drag my feet for a couple minutes. Check back in on 135, a little Tommy, and maybe UHF, and another 220 call, and then I'll roll on out of here, heading out. Excellent net. We gotta keep it up. I'm glad you're keeping it up. This is incredible. Good fun. 73 from N9FSE in Waukesha.
All right, 7-3, Steve. It's 223/500, right?
Yep, I'll be making one call on RIX or Peter. Nobody answers me there, and I'll go back in the scan, and so give it a long call. I might be in scan. N9FSE.
All right, sounds good. KC9UDX.